move.
What, like I'm...
Yeah. That's it.
God,
Watch out, honey. You're standing on my
Slower.
I just put lipstick on.
Is that how you like it?
Hannah, look at the. This is so dirty.
Well, I just came in. I want to put some lipstick on as well. I mean, a liner.
That's not bad.
Well. Just move it, Jack. Just sort that out. So
Nice.
that's not.
I think this one.
Yeah.
So I just don't have squeaky eyes.
Okay,
Yeah, everyone all right?
Jack, and clean that thing here.
Huh?
Oh, do you have like
clean
a
this.
cloth?
It's clean.
Okay, and get that crystal. You see the crystal behind you, Hannah?
Yeah.
Put it in the middle there.
Channel
Okay.
the energy.
Are we ready?
I'm not taking part in a séance.
Uh,
Now you are.
Jack, go on. Sit down now. Hello. Yeah, are we good, Jack? Daniel? Yeah. Can I just say, right? You know, I wouldn't call what I have at the back of the house a yard. It's like literally it's a little rectangle shaped yard. It's tiny, but it was completely flooded, Jack.
Why is that?
Well, there's a drain and it was flooded, Hannah, and there was sort of backed up sewage, and I could smell shit, and I think I could see kind of the accumulation of soaked water. And this was like and because occasionally when it got very rainy, there was a faint smell of shit in the, and I'm thinking,
I've been telling you.
okay, Hannah, can I just finish my shit story?
Remember, Hannah, I had to do that before.
Okay, can I just say, so anyway, I wanted to get some, my neighbour wanted to borrow an amplifier, which was stored in that little shed place, Jack. So I had to go, and the whole place was flooded. Anyway, I got a big plunger, I unblocked the fucking drain, and all this shit water, and then I had to scoop up all this stuff into black plastic bags, and I took it out, cleaned it all out, took about 3 hours. There's bits of shit on my fucking hand and my thing. I'm not it all, you know, the point of this story is, I'm so grateful for plumbing. People take it for granted. You take a shit and it gets taken away. It's amazing. Thank God it's taken away, because I'll tell you, the Black Plague, people didn't have fucking plumbing. They're shitting. What are you doing? I can see what you're doing, because you're shitting over there. And then you're throwing it out onto the fucking street. Thank God. You know, all these people all over Ireland with their big arses, they're sitting on toilets, they're taking big dumps and shits and God knows what else. And it's all getting taken away. Thank you, plumbers. Thank you, sewage. Very, very fucking great.
You know, there used to be a job, instead of a bin collector, you'd have the shit collector.
No, that's not true, is it?
Because you didn't have sewage back in whenever times, and they just pile up the shit, and then the job would be to come and gather the shit and bring it to some...
And what's your son doing? Well, he's got a great job in town now. He's shit collector. Oh. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very important, like rubbish collector.
So,
I think
no, I mean, I'm sorry, but I just really want to emphasize all these people, oh, you know, life is tough. Is it? No.
It's not.
You take a shit in your toilet, right? You take a big dump. And have you ever touched shit? It's you know what I mean? And then I was opening doors. I had to clean all the fucking handles. It was just like radioactive, the house, for momentarily. And it was just... What I'm just saying is, you take a dump and it just gets taken away like a... Anyway.
You would have never... when my son was non-verbal, part of his communication, how he used to communicate distress, is he fecal smeared. I have cleaned shit off of nearly every household surface you can think of. So I'm sitting here like... I've cleaned shit, so... I get upset when I have to wipe my own arse. I've cleaned shit so much. So you can sit there.
Okay, give some
Would you employ someone to
wipe my
your
ass? The first thing I'm going to do when I've made enough money is to have someone come and clean my glory hole.
That was also a job back in the day. So.
Well, reinstate it.
I'll find out.
Okay, so well, I'm in the presence of real... Yeah. So fecal what?
Fecal smearing.
That's a way of
fecal
communicating.
smearing.
It would, when he was distressed, yeah.
And your son, just for people, obviously...
Autistic.
Right. And what would the communication? What? Sorry, it sounds ridiculous. So, what's he trying to say? You know, if you're smearing shit on something. Of course, the hunger strikers did it as a protest to the British.
Yeah. That's the only
If he was hungry, he wouldn't have shit in his system. He wasn't hungry.
And what do you think? What it's just frustration. And
It would be probably, and it wouldn't be like he'd go in his room or like I'd come across. It's not like I would watch him do it. I would come across it.
And would it be in? Oh, listen.
Oh, it's walls. The one that I remember the most is one time before his sensory need, he has a trampoline. And just like the basic indoor one, round one, and I walked in and he had fecal smeared on the trampoline, but he had smeared it in, and I wanted to just throw it away, but he needed the trampoline, so I got a bucket. And the thing is with him, he was very astute about knowing your frustration, so I would have to try and clean the shit with a poker face. So, like, he knew he hadn't got to me.
Jesus.
And this one time he had done it. And I just wanted to throw the trampoline away, but it was a need of his. So I got a bucket and I scrubbed the trampoline, right, because it's porous. The mesh is porous. So I've scrubbed the trampoline. I've then picked it up to clean the underside. And when I've picked it up...
You sieved the poo.
And because when I've picked it up, because of the way I've scrubbed it, when I've picked it up, on the floor was a perfect circle of speckled shit that had come through the pores, and it was just, and I started crying.
Yeah.
Because I'd done that. He shit on the trampoline, but I'm the one who transferred it onto the floor. And I just started crying. And I was like, I've done this. I've cleaned this. And I've so had to clean the top of the trampoline, the underside of the trampoline, and the floor.
Wasn't a carpet there?
No, because of his fecal smearing, I had put in he had vinyl.
The containment of shit is so important. You know, it transfers from your anus horribilis into the toilet. You know, so it's just like a direct channel. But once it starts, you know, you're smearing here and smearing there. Oh, fucking! I told you about that guy who stayed with my parents. I did tell you about that guy. And he was very drunk, right? And he woke up the next day, shit everywhere. He shat himself. He shat all over the couch. There was just shit everywhere. And he just, you know, ran out of the fucking house. And my parents, had to get rid. They just threw the fucking couch out. They lifted up the fucking the carpets. Painted, you know, just took a fucking flamethrower to the fucking room. But your man showed up, I think, the next day with a bunch of flowers. Like, Jesus. Can you imagine it?
Was he the friend of your parents?
It was a fresh air freshener.
Like flowers. Can you imagine? It's like you've shot and fucking destroyed somebody's room, and then you come back with, you know.
A friend, I had a friend stayed over. She was drunk. I put her in my bed, and she did that to my bed.
Oh yeah.
And I threw out everything.
Yeah.
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 Didn't ever you hold her responsible for
she
the
was
cost?
drunk. She was drunk.
Like, even if you're drunk, then
I know.
you have to suffer consequences.
I was just glad she was gone.
Okay. So
and her shit.
Shit is a very powerful thing. There was a guy who survived. I can't remember. I think a film was made about him. And he was crawling along, and he was just about to die. But there was a camp ahead of him, and he smelt the shit, and it was like smelling salts.
Oh yeah. Well, I think you can survive just drinking your own urine because it's nourishing water.
And your French boyfriend probably drank your urine. He loved all that stuff.
No, he drank my blood.
Oh, stop it!
It tastes like lemonade.
I'm French. I'm so in love with you. Your piss is like fucking lemonade.
But listen, there was like a witchcraft. He did. I used to have a menstrual cup, and I got in my and then first thing in the morning.
Josephine is disgusting.
First, listen.
We have started. I was so delighted to be invited to do this podcast, and we have started on shit and drinking menstrual blood.
Can we continue this conversation? Can we
introduce the show?
Introduce the show, Jack.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to And That's Why We're Not Together, starring David McSavage, Hannah Andrews, and special guest, Miss Josephine Lacey. Woo!
Josephine Lacey, comedian living in London. There you go. Half Irish. We have to emphasise that.
All right, I am.
Yeah.
Half Jamaican.
Half Jamaican. Not sure you can do the accent, Jack. Okay.
Yes, he can.
Josephine gave me permission.
Did she
Yeah, him have me permission, man.
And my princes, Jack and Daniel. Sorry, yes, well done, Jack and Daniel.
One day this kingdom will be yours.
Did you name them deliberately? Share them after the drink?
No, well, my drink was vodka anyway, and wine. But no, Daniel. So a subliminal. Probably it happened like that. But Daniel obviously was born first, then Jack.
Okay, yeah.
Hannah, what were you saying? Your boyfriend drank your menstrual blood?
Yes. So,
stop it.
And it
Fucking
is
French.
so potent. I'm telling you, he was not aware that was almost like a witchcraft, because he really wanted to take, like he was open and tantric love, all this. So he really wanted to taste my menstrual blood. So drink. So. Like you've got that cup which collects.
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Overnight.
Hang on, Hannah, nobody
drink.
knows about a cup. No, you talk about a cup like, what's a menstrual cup for Christ's sake?
Put it inside you instead of
a paddy pad or a tampon, and it collects.
So you put a cup inside your fanny, and then the blood.
So it collects your blood,
and then you take it out.
You take it out. You empty. You rinse it and put it back
where?
In the sink.
Oh yeah, and how big is the cup?
Like this, it depends of your funny. It could be huge, or it could be tiny, depending on the size of your vagina.
Go on.
But listen, so
don't stare at me like. Go on.
So he drank the morning blood.
Yeah, go on.
My morning blood.
Okay.
And then when I try, there's some witchcraft in that. When I wanted to break up with him, he wouldn't go. He was following me. He wanted to stay at home. He wanted to go to counseling. He was not able to leave me, even though I asked him.
Okay, and you reckon that's because there's some properties in menstrual blood that can...
There was some unintentional witchcraft from my side and from my blood.
Josephine, do you want to do you have an opinion? Does menstrual blood witchcraft? Oh, and by the way, Josephine, I'm sure guys have drank your menstrual blood.
Hell no.
Hell no.
No. No. He would have.
Doesn't Jamaica have voodoo and all that stuff?
They have. They call it obia.
Okay.
It's the same thing, but. Yeah.
Have you ever had any experience with that stuff?
Yeah, I believe I believe so. Yeah, but from my son's father, I think he tried a bit.
Where was your dad from?
My dad's from Jamaica, Clarendon.
Where's that?
In Jamaica.
And where have you been there?
Sounds English, Clarendon.
It does sound English.
Yeah, it's just in the middle of Essex or whatever.
And have you been back there?
Not since 2006. I used to go quite regularly, but since I had my son, I haven't been back. He doesn't like extreme heat, so.
What's Clarendon like?
It's like country. It's nice. I like it. I like Jamaica. It's like home from home, like Ireland is.
Food? What's the Jamaican food like?
Oh, I love it. Hard. It's fresh. You can go. Neighbours. When I stayed with my aunt, they had a fish pond. We went down. We picked our fish. You'd go down, and then all the fish would swim away because they said, "Me not dinner tonight."
Because you
catch a fish.
You like your fish, don't you?
Yeah, I'm pescatarian.
Ooh.
So, if you go to Jamaica, do people still, remember Bob Marley and they?
Yeah, it's not ancient history.
I know, but like,
did they forget about him? Did they?
No, but like,
He's the most famous musician. Yeah, well, I mean,
still the hero. Like, there's all the streets naming by Bob Marley, and then there's just
I get what you're saying, because people kind of like, they don't believe in Jesus, and so they're kind of, maybe they don't believe in Bob Marley.
And I mean, the theatre, they've got his stage, his theatre show out is now, isn't it? But Bob Marley.
Oh
is
the
out.
musical.
The musical is out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's a legend, and there's this museum.
Yeah.
Out there. Yeah, he's still a legend. He's not.
It's like saying to a Liverpudlian, you know, do they talk? You know,
still talk about the Beatles.
Okay, yeah, okay. Sorry.
Well, don't apologise.
No.
Okay, so maybe Josephine can tell us, how did you get into comedy?
How did I get into comedy? Oh, like I don't even. Right. So in as I was approaching 40, basically, I kind of stumbled into it in the sense of when I turned 40 in 2008, I think it was. I just wanted to do something different, just something like just to celebrate. I was like turning 40, and I was going to go away, and then I decided not to, and I got some money for my birthday. And, you know, as parents, you'll get some money, but very rarely do we spend it on ourselves. Yeah. You'll get something for the house, or you'll treat the whole family to something. You'll go out for dinner. And I thought, no, this time, like, I'm going to spend it on myself. But what did I want to do?
That's what David does all the time, spend it on himself. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm a better parent than him.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt. Hurtful but true.
And I thought, well, what would I want to do? And at the same time, I was kind of a bit bored of my job because...
Which was?
I used to run the services in the Borough of Brent for vulnerable adults. I got into that. I was headhunted because I used to run hostels and cold weather centres for entrenched rough sleepers. Loved it. I was in that for many years. But I got headhunted to bring up a service that was failing, and they were about to lose government funding. And so I went in and I fixed that. But I lost a lot of contact with my client group, which were the entrenched rough sleepers, addicts, wet houses, dry houses, crack houses, mental health.
Explain to people what a wet house is.
A wet house is people who are having issues with alcoholism, but they're still allowed to drink while they're trying to get off it.
And what would be a well-known wet house in London?
Oh, it would have all been changed now. I mean, I was in northwest London, but it would be like a converted 3-story home, and then like the rooms would be individual rooms.
It'd be fairly bleak, I'd say, in there.
Not always, because the thing is, you can't treat people who are still drinking and then people who are dry within the same home.
I saw that documentary about Arlington House.
I used to have, that was in Camden.
Yeah.
That was an awful place.
Yeah.
That was, well, when I was there, I mean, it was just horrific.
Was that
huge.
That was a wet house?
That was wet.
Yeah, wet, you know.
It was a wet house.
Enda, you remember Enda, who helped Damien and Kieran on The Savage Eye? He did a documentary about the Arlington House. And so you would have had Irish guys.
There was a lot of Irish there.
From the, you know, nothing here. They'd go over there, and they'd have no kind of fucking, you know, life skills. Their mommies brought them up or whatever. They're working in the building sites, and a lot of them became alcoholics. And
they built
dour,
England,
yeah, but a very
railway,
yeah, but
and roads.
Yeah, they did. They built a lot, and some of them thrived, but a lot of them fell by the wayside and were too embarrassed to go back home because they were in such a condition. They were so alcoholic, and they were ashamed and embarrassed. So they'd stay in this Arlington house, and they were just shambling wrecks of men. It was very.
I don't know if it's still there or.
It is still there, yeah, but they've cleaned it up a lot.
Good, good. I had one of my saddest client stories there, and I had a chap who was there desperately trying to get off the drink, and I got him a placement in a dry house, but we had to wait for he was the top of the list, and he was meant to move in on a particular day, and he couldn't. They failed him in that, and I think it was something like he had to wait 2 days. And then I went to see him the evening before, and I said, remember now, I'm coming for you in the morning. Can't wait, I'll help you settle in. And I went to work with him because I just knew he wanted it so much. And I went into work full of joy that I was going to at least do this for him. And then when I got in, at that point I had the job, a title as move-on worker. And I went in, spring in my step. It was the only thing I was going to do that day. And I went in, I was called downstairs into the office. And they told me he died in the night. And I put it down to that if he had gone when he should have, I think he would have been all right. And I just think he was just left. He just died in his room. Mm. He hadn't overdosed or anything. And I just think the thought of actually going through a clean program, I just think he gave up. And I've never forgot that.
There was this documentary, and I can't remember his last name, and it's a very, very good documentary about Arlington House. I might put a link, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, there was a guy called Peter, and, Peter had learning difficulties or whatever, and he was in Arlington House, and I don't think he was an alcoholic, but he had fetched up in Arlington House. And like you said, it was a really tough place, rough place. They've completely transformed it now. But it followed his story, and I think he was in this tiny little pokey room.
Yeah, there were tiny rooms.
Tiny little rooms. So, just very enclosed, like little solitary confinement.
They were like cells.
Cells. So he'd been living there for 20, 25 years or whatever. Kind of like he's a man, but he had he was like a boy in a way. And they finally refurbished Arlington House, and they made they got rid of all those small little cells and made the rooms much bigger. And there was a part in the documentary where they were bringing him to his new room, which is like 4, 5, 10 times bigger than the old room. But he was so unused to the space that he just lived in a little corner of the room. He was so would you
conditioned.
Call it conditioned or institutionalized? But in a way, I think that was a great, the way I saw it was very metaphorical. There's a lot of people who just inhabit a tiny part of their lives, and really they could expand and have ambition and achieve things and achieve great things, but they just, for whatever reason, confidence, life circumstance, they just occupy they don't access the potential they have, and they just live in just a little corner of their lives, man. So that was very poignant.
The documentary is called Men of Arlington.
That's it.
It was Enda Hughes.
Enda Hughes. Thank you, Jack. Yeah.
It's built in 1905, actually, that hostel. Arlington hostel.
Yeah, so it's still there. Yeah.
Since that long, Irish people been going over there.
But I think maybe those Irish people were built, they were working for English construction companies. They did the labor and everything. Yeah. But they weren't awarded maybe pensions, so they were left with nothing.
Yes.
And with no health and no contribution to
welfare. 100%. Yeah. So you were saying you sort of decided to do comedy because you wanted to treat yourself or do something new or challenge yourself.
It was just a hobby I was looking for. I had Callum in 2006, and I realised soon on that he was different. He looked physically, I hate the word normal, but there wasn't anything about his physicality that made me think he was different. But being a parent, there was just something there was just something between the two of us that I knew a few days in that he was special in some way.
Because you've had 2 kids before, Callum.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then as he developed, it just, there was things, he didn't hit any markers, he didn't make a sound, and I mean literally hardly cried. And then he wouldn't follow me out the room. He didn't mimic mama or anything. He just didn't. There was just something. But I thought, I didn't bring him to a doctor because I thought, what they're going to do to a baby? I didn't like the idea of them. I just didn't know. So when he was 2, I brought him to the GP and I said, look, he doesn't say a sound. He doesn't mimic. He doesn't follow me out the room. He walks back.
Follow me, you mean look at you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he walks backwards indoors. He doesn't eat his food off of a plate. he's just doing all things different. And he just said, you know him best, write everything down and we'll send him for an assessment. He got the assessment 6 months later, and they diagnosed him on the day with autism and sensory processing disorder. That was 2009. So I did a little course in 2008, comedy writing for 6 weeks, 3 hours on a Sunday. On the 6th week, you performed your 5 minutes to a friendly crowd. And I'd done it at the comedy school with the great director, Mr. Keith Palmer. And he just said, you know what, you've got something there. Just if you want to do comedy, just do open mics. But I wasn't really into it. I just thought I did my showcase October. I did an open mic the following December. January 2009, I probably did about 12 gigs. And then I was invited to do Edinburgh Fringe 2010. For a week, there was loads of, like, a few open micers. We only all went up with our 5 minutes. We lived together. We were all up different times in that month. And I just loved darting around doing my 5 minutes every day, 4, 5, 6 times a day, just shooting around doing it. And by that point, because he had got diagnosed in 2009 and I had entered into a depression, not because of his diagnosis, I have depression, I took some time off work. I actually handed in my resignation and they didn't accept it. They gave me a year off unpaid.
Which shows you how good you are at your job.
Well, they didn't want to lose me and they were just hoping that I would fix my personal stuff that was going on.
What type of depression is it diagnosed?
Clinical.
So it's not, what's bipolar?
No, that's not depression. It's a different,
it's a different,
different.
Do you think the work you were doing influenced your depression?
I think having such a high profile role and being responsible for the well-being of, I think I had about 11 semi-independent homes. And I mean, I had a crack house, I had wet houses, dry houses, mental health houses. I had walked in on a number of residents who have died. You found them dead, or my staff would find them dead. I've resuscitated 4 overdoses on my own. And then having a child that I had to go back and care for, plus having 2 children that were teenagers, I was just caring. I was just a ball caring for everyone else.
And I wasn't. The father wasn't around.
No, I've never been lucky in love. I think because of my conditioning as a child and the way that I was raised, I wasn't raised as a princess, so I didn't initially treat myself as a queen. Right. And I was in the wrong kind of energies and I was with the wrong kind of crowd of people. And you attract the energy that you are.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I wasn't well,
I mean, that description, for God's sake, the accumulation of all those incidents and those people and so on, if it doesn't take a toll on it would take a toll on anyone. Of course it would, Josephine. Don't you think?
And can I just ask, so the father of the last of column is a different father than the other 2?
My 3 children have different fathers. There's age gaps between them all. They're 3 different relations. Actually, Callum's father isn't even a bona fide relationship. He was someone that I used to hang out with when I went to the Caribbean.
Oh, right.
And I mean, I think in the 3 years that we used to hang out, like visit, it weren't a long distance relationship. I think I slept with him about 5 times when I was hanging with marijuana and alcohol. Do you know what I mean?
A Guinness and a spliff.
A Guinness and a spliff.
and when, like, to people who don't understand depression, like, in the same way you say to people you're an alcoholic, if you're not an alcoholic, it's just a word, and because you have no experience of it. I mean, what's it like at its lowest point? Is it
my lowest point?
Well, I mean, depressed.
2014 and 2015, I nearly died. I was in hospital. It triggered. That was when it was the worst. 2014.
What's the feeling like inside your head? Like
numb.
When you're depressed?
There is no feeling.
And this is
There's no feeling other than.
So you wake up.
Everything's dark. Everything's dark. There's no way. For me, it was like waking up, and my very first thought was, I'm not going to get through this day, let alone that I couldn't figure how I was going to get through the next minute, let alone the next hour, and then face a whole day. I couldn't fathom how I was going to do that.
And can you put, so when people saw you when you were in the throes of that, you could put on a bit of a brave face, hello, but would they know that you were, or could you hide it?
In my deepest one, I couldn't go out. I was indoors. It was only a few friends who knew how ill I was, and my aunt knew how ill I was. That was the worst case scenario.
Can I just say, with the amount of work that you did and the amount of experiences that you had as a result of that, you would think they would put counselling in place or something to kind of look after.
Well, you have to admit you need the help.
Oh.
You have to. I mean, there was also the fear of, at that time, Callum didn't have a care plan with social services, and I didn't want them knowing I was that ill, because the fear is they're going to take my son.
Okay, fucking hell.
So I didn't.
So you've got that added.
Yeah. So I didn't. It wasn't until 2014 I came home. I was on my way home. I left a gig with another comedian. We hung out for a bit. They walked me to the top of my road, and as I walked down my road and I was putting the key in my door, I was grabbed from behind, I was beaten from behind, and I was violently sexually assaulted on the street. And that triggered all my childhood and young person's abuse. So that, and I had no control. All the doors started opening in my head and in my emotions, and I developed post-traumatic stress disorder. And it was constant. There was no break. And I did ask for help, because being in the kind of work that I was in, I knew there was help out there, and I didn't get the right kind of help, so I self-medicated on alcohol, and I wasn't a drinker before, and I knew alcohol would just put me to sleep, and so I had a pattern of getting my son on the school bus. When the school bus was out of distance, I'd walk to the shop and get enough alcohol to put me to sleep. I would then...
What would you drink?
Wine.
Okay.
White wine.
Did they catch the fucking guy?
They found him on CCTV to a certain extent, and they found DNA on me, but they didn't. The CCTV images that they had, they said weren't clear enough to circulate. Oh. And then they were able to follow him to a certain point, and then they lost him.
And he got away with it?
He's got away with what he's done to me, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't got away in life.
Oh, I mean, no, that stuff will
something will catch up with him.
Yeah.
But I just had to hand it over to the universe and to the police. I had to deal with what I was dealing with myself.
So, as you said, you were going to the shop, get alcohol, come
back, drink, sleep, and if I thought I wouldn't wake up, I would tell my big son to listen out for the school bus, and he would go downstairs and get his brother. I would then make sure Callum had dinner, had his bath, and then I would start drinking again.
Can I ask you, what time did that happen when you were sexually assaulted on the street?
The last Sunday in...
What time was it though? Was it in the night?
2:00, just after 2 in the morning.
And did anybody come out, or was there...
Well, this is the thing. What happened was, when he was in the throes of sexually assaulting me, a guy came and punched him off. But they cordoned off the area. The police, there was a police cordon for them to collect evidence. And then the next day, the police officer came and she said, it's good news, we've got nearly 200 statements. And I said, statements of what? And they said statements of people who heard you screaming. And I said, well, that's great, because only one of those 200 came out. And she said, it's awful to say this. And she said, if you can, you get the message to your friends, and God forbid it happens to them. But if you're ever assaulted like that, you have to scream fire and not help. If you scream fire, people will come out of their homes to find out. If you scream for help, they will go to their window and watch in the hope someone else comes to help you first.
That's very true. I mean, you see it all the time now with the videos online. Like, something crazy is happening, someone's getting assaulted. Everyone's just videoing. No one will go in, and because it's also the laws nowadays. If you go in, like, you know, you might get in trouble if you defend someone, or like, you know, like, this person who did that to you deserves. I mean, I think he probably deserves to die, really, you know. I don't know, go to prison for a long time. I mean, and you know,
what hurt?
But if you assaulted him, maybe you'd go to, you know.
I mean, the one of the biggest upsets was the following day. My middle son, was coming up the stairs. We lived on the second floor, and there was an intercom door, and he was coming up, and the woman upstairs stopped him and said, "Oh, how's your mum? I saw everything that happened." And I wouldn't have expected her as a lone female to come out and help me. But what upset me, she used to work for Crime Watch, and she used to date a guy in CID, and she didn't call the police. She didn't take out her phone and film it or anything. And I actually said to the investigating officer, can she be arrested for letting that happen to me? Like, can't she be told off or anything? Like, she didn't say, oi. Like, she didn't go downstairs and say to my son, your mum's being attacked. That's really upset me.
Really disgusting, because then she's asking your son about it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's
she didn't
really
like us anyway. She didn't like us. We were the only ethnic family in the block, and there was 8 flats, and 6 of them were privately owned. There was only 2 that were still council, and I figured she just thought she was more of a hierarchy than.
Well, if any women were listening to this and have gone through similar experiences, like what advice or would you give them in terms of you know, dealing or somehow getting on the path to recovery from something like that?
Just don't stop seeking the right kind of help. Don't suffer in silence. What I also found is the people who knew me the best were the worst people that I tried to get, were the worst to give me help, because they were not used to me not coping. So when I was no longer coping, they didn't know how to interact with me. I was no longer this strong woman who was coping with everything. They just did not know me weak. So they didn't know what to say to me. They didn't know what to do for me. My own family would say, like, "Oh, just get over it," and like, and it wasn't just. And
of course, you wanted, but you couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't physically. I couldn't. And the haunting. I mean, it depending as well what else has happened, what that incident done, and in some ways, it is. This is going to sound really, really weird, and I don't want it to upset anyone who may be listening, but for my instance, as horrific as that incident was, it triggered, it allowed the triggering of everything that was suppressed and locked away. And I don't know if that hadn't happened, when that would have come back to haunt me. And in a way, I am kind of glad, because I did not know. I was 47 when I realised the truth in the body, the soul, the muscles, everything holds trauma. I had 47 years of trauma embedded in my body, in my bones, in my muscles, in my mind, in my heart. In every step that I took was traumatic, but unbeknownst to me was I holding on to that. And And it was very painful. All my therapy was extended. I had extended sexual violence counselling. I had one-to-one counselling, had group counselling, had drama therapy. I had womb therapy. I had colour therapy. I did it all. Once I was with the right organisation, and everything, when I got to the end, they would say, we can't let you go yet. We're going to extend your therapy. So
doing stand-up was a kind of a way of, just...
Stand-up... Was
that part of the recovery kind?
No, because stand-up I'd started before the incident. Stand-up, my first gig was 2008. 2010, I decided to make it a career. August 2010 in Edinburgh Fringe is when I said, right, I'm definitely not going back to that job. I'm going to do my best to make comedy.
Look, when something as traumatic, as life-changing or as violating or, is the burglarizing or whatever, I can hear, sometimes you see people at the end of the road and they're having these conversations with themselves, and it's like they're trying to right the wrongs perpetrated to them at a certain event. And it's just going over and over. And this is 10, 20 years later, and they're saying what they should have said at the time, but they didn't. Does it play in quiet moments? Do these things come up, and do you
when I was unbalanced, and going, I would, and the more you heal, but when you heal, that's not the person you were in the abuse, so you're not going to think the same.
Okay.
And like I always said, living in a violent household, I would say to myself, oh, a man's never going to treat me like my dad treated us, or a man's never going to beat me like my dad beat my mum. I always said that. The first time I was hit in a relationship, I did exactly what my mum did, because it was second nature.
What was that?
I waited for the beating to finish, and then I carried on. I would cook the dinner. I would just go on like nothing had happened. I wouldn't tell anyone. I kept it to myself.
Because it's shameful, isn't it?
Well, it's what I was used to seeing. It's how I saw how my mum dealt with it. So it's what I did. It goes out of the window, your own reasoning. Yeah.
So before that, you're kind of saying to yourself, I would never be with an abusive man.
Yeah.
But then there's some kind of thing in your brain.
It's conditioning. It's conditioning. Yeah, I did not know what else to do. I was only copying what I knew, what I had seen and heard.
It was just kind of, because it's just like in so many aspects of life, people, we can have our thoughts that we want to do things this way, but our body almost just overtakes our mind and our control, and just kind of diverts you on a different path, which is, it's kind of one of these unexplainable things in life.
No, it's a conditioning from childhood, the way you're being brought up, the conditions, the circumstances, the rules.
A therapist talked about it like atmosphere. You carry an atmosphere. In other words, so you're with a guy, let's say relationship-wise, and it's all fine, right? But you have this sense of impending doom, and there is no sense of impending doom. So you behave like something bad is going to happen, and then almost because you fear it, it somehow creates it or brings it in or something like that. That's not. Is that a good way of explaining it?
I think you're talking about yourself and Fiona O'Shaughnessy case.
Jesus Christ, Hannah!
No, I think because I think
what I'm saying.
You maybe just didn't explain it correctly.
Okay, sorry. Let me put it to you this way. I sound like Dr. Phil now. Well, here we are, Josephine Lacey. Now, if you could talk about your childhood in terms of weather, was it sunny, occasionally rainy, or dark clouds, or you know what I mean? How would you?
I didn't like my childhood. And I mean, you can have siblings in the same household.
But in terms of weather, how would you describe your childhood?
Stormy, rainy, stormy, gale.
Why are you laughing, Jack?
Because
This is stupid.
You're doing what do you mean? Why am I laughing?
Oh, sorry.
The thing is, David, I think Josephine explained everything so plainly and clear.
Yes.
And you trying to mansplain what she already explained.
Fuck me in the face. I knew it.
I know it's your birthday and we should allow you, but she said it everything.
I know, but she was talking about. Sorry, so sorry, Josephine. Josephine was talking about. Josephine was talking about when she was growing up with her mom and so how her dad was abused, and she said, never be like that.
I know, you explaining it again to me. I understand what she said, and I completely agree. You know, read the book, the woman who walked into the door, Roddy Dawes' book. He talks about exactly the same thing. The patterns.
But why in the world would we be in a relationship?
Because that's what we know. We go always to the what's familiar.
Okay, look, my name is David, and I'm a mansplainer. And
do you know, I think this podcast is properly entitled. I think it's the perfect title. It really is. It's a perfect title.
No, okay. You're right.
We're not together.
You're so right. Do you know what it is? I think I might have to leave this in as a mea culpa, because you're so right. I'm a fucking asshole of a man. Here comes Josephine explaining brilliantly, and then I'm like Gay Byrne. Well, there we go. We just heard we heard Josephine. She explained. You don't need you to come at the end and wrap it all in a little bow like some patriarchal. Jack, that's inappropriate. Can we just say, Hannah went to see Josephine Lacey last night in the Crack Den, and you were roaring your head laughing.
Yes.
Friday you came, I think.
Friday.
Saturday.
Saturday, because today is Monday. Yeah. But, what I loved about your stand-up, that it's so sexy, but it's so open, and it's sexy in a different way. So
honest.
It's honest, doesn't glamorize, doesn't pretend that you're 50 something and your vagina is tight and ready to rock. And
well, it's I have to say, it's like I was laughing.
Like, it's not you, the character. And I was just
Let me just say, nowhere in my set do I say my vagina is tight and ready to rock. Just let's get that out there. All right.
I thought you did say something in that.
Look at that.
No, I said my hymen's grown back.
And it'll take something or other.
A man who can use his cock like a jackhammer.
Yeah, but also the way you describe a blowjob and how you supposed to do it and how you do it. And
no, I don't know what you were listening to.
No, don't you do that material that you require jaw muscles to give?
Well, the material is that I haven't. It's been a long time since I sucked a dick. Do you understand?
It's so funny. Can I just say, and I want to hear this, but on stage, but like person to person, it's a different way of. Sorry, go on. I was mansplaining. I think I'm.
You mansplaining.
Well, you can't stop now. That was half a What was you trying to say?
It's like being in the way we are sitting, and you're talking about your set. It's kind of it's much more intimate on a one-to-one. Talking about you haven't sucked a dick. It's one thing sitting in an audience and looking at you on stage.
Exactly. My language is different. On the stage,
continue.
I will say that. Yeah. Sorry. I feel forced to now. I mean, not forced, of course. So
it's been a while since you sucked a dick.
On stage, I am quite what's being described as eloquently filthy. Of course, my language is a lot tamer when I'm off stage, but I am equally as honest. So I do on stage. I mean, I haven't been intimate with someone for near on 18 years. So there's just the bit, just correcting how you perceived what I said was just like...
We'll continue the thing. You haven't sucked a dick in a long time.
Right.
And...
I'm frightened when I do it again, I'm going to choke. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's like a double meaning, right? You're gonna choke literally and choke like.
I'm frightened I am going to choke, go blue on a dick.
Yeah, but also you can say choke as in like not perform well, right?
That's kind of you. See, that wouldn't be a term of our old. Like that's not in my vocabulary.
That's like choke.
Oh, you mean choke as in you get stage fright?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, so you're teaching me, so I didn't know that's like slang.
There's layers to your comedy, Joseph.
Yeah, there you go. You should be my agent or my comedy writer.
I thought, no, you talked about you have to have
because after 17 years, you're going to lose the stamina in your jaw. You're going to lose the memory muscle. You're going to lose the gag reflex, you know?
Yeah, but like at any age, if you give Cristiano Ronaldo the ball, he'll still be able to hit it well, you know what I mean? So
kicking a ball and sucking a dick is two different things. I can kick a ball. I'm maybe not as good as Cristiano Ronaldo or whatever his name is.
But I think that
he could probably suck a dick better than me right now as well.
He's got some job.
Yeah. But listen, you know, your comedy is filthy, and I love it. As you said,
let's not put people off now.
No. It's beautifully filthy.
Thank you.
That's what people like, isn't it? They don't want vanilla.
They don't.
I wouldn't say, genuinely. I don't think it. What's that sound? Oh, that's the fucking, sorry. I think it's a holding up a mirror to your experience, isn't it?
But was it always filthy? Like you started 2008 and were you always inclined to do so?
No, I was always honest. I mean, my very first set was about how I found out my son lost his virginity when he was 15. I'm not proud of that. But my first set was how I found out he did that, and how I found out he'd lost his virginity was, at that time I was working with the entrenched rough sleepers, and you know, I went out and like I'd leave instructions, and I think on that day I'd said to him, look, by the time I come home I want the rubbish gone and I want the washing up in the sink done. That's not my washing up. And I came home from work and the rubbish hadn't been taken out and the washing was still in the sink, and I was livid. And I went to go in his room. I didn't knock. I just I flung open the door. And that little shit jumped up and like pushed his chest out at me and like tried to bar me from coming in his room and talking to him. And I thought he'd lost his fucking mind. I'm like, what? Because he said, get out of my room. And I'm like, you what? Like it threw me. He'd never spoke to me like that. And like I've said, you've lost your mind. And I said, what do you mean? He said, get out of my room. You can't come in my room. And I put it to him. I said, you know what? You have either been smoking crack or you've had yourself pussy. But you think you're a man. And they're the only two things that can make me think that you think you're a man in my house. And like I said, you need to tell me what you're doing. Because I was frightened he'd smoke crack. And he said, "Oh, I've lost my virginity." I pulled him in.
What do you mean? Did he say like in an?
Well, I gave him 5 minutes. I told him, "You're coming in the kitchen and you're going to tell me what you've been up to."
Because he'd never spoken to you like that.
He'd never spoken to me
really
like that.
Took you back. It's amazing your intuition.
Never.
But my God, like, I don't think I would have thought that. Hannah, would you have made that assumption if...
No, but you wouldn't know your kids that well.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. You know, it's egocentric. But David...
Josephine reveling in the whole mess.
But Josephine...
Was the girl,
so I want to hear this.
Was the girl in the bed? Or?
No, he hadn't lost it that moment.
Oh, okay, right.
But it must have been not long, like he hadn't lost, because he just felt like...
But what a good read of him. And so...
the fact that he just...
The fact that he
felt like...
He could take me on.
Right, I see.
Like he's a man of the house.
Yeah, he felt like he could take me on.
So 5 minutes he took, and then he came in and he was...
he came in the kitchen and I gave him... And I said, tell me what you've been up to. You've either smoked crack or you fucked pussy.
You said it to him like that?
Straight up. Straight up.
I'm just thinking, if I was the kid, then I could have thought of 10,000 excuses.
I'm too scared. I'm too scary, and I've always raised him. Do you know what I mean? His dad was kind of whatless. His dad didn't have nothing to do with him, really.
Whatless?
Whatless.
What does that mean?
No good, useless.
Oh, I like that thing. So then he said what when you said that?
You cut people off a lot when you.
I'm so sorry. I know.
Yeah, no, it's all right, but just to,
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I can't, and also I can't, and I'll look back at this, and and I'm trying to learn, but
it's very difficult.
Look, that's the thing. It's a washing machine. So you confronted him.
And then the funniest thing happened while he was there. The buzzer went, and he just run to get the buzzer to go out the kitchen, and he waited at the front door, and it was his two best mates came, and they came up the stairs, and I thought, let me hear if they go in the room. And I said, right, the lot of you in the kitchen. And they came in the kitchen. And I ended up giving them a pep talk because I asked them. He came in and I just looked at them. And they went, oh, hi, Josie. And I just looked at him and I said, are you two still virgins or have you been fucking as well? Through my teeth. And they looked at my son. This is the God's truth. They looked at my son, and my son looked at them, put his head down, held his heart, and he went, I had to tell her. She knows. She knows. And I swear like that. And then I just put them in the front room and I gave them a pep talk about venereal disease, and I told them where they should go, like if their penis starts oozing green fluid. I just tried to, they were all 15, I just tried to put the fear of God in them, and I said, you need to know because you're not going to want to tell your parents. I said, I don't want to see your sick dick, so you're going to need to go and tell your parents. You don't want, you're going to need to use condoms. It
is a bit young to be, I think, at that age.
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have done it, and I would have liked him to wait. But yeah, my first set was that. Yeah. I mean, I'd learned to put in funnies. I'd done the course, so I'd put in the funnies. But that was my first set. Yeah.
And you've written a show.
I've written two. My first show was Me and My Little Einstein, which was basically just raising my son who was non-verbal, and fecal smearing is in it and those kind of things. It didn't really take off because as I had released that and started to do it, I was then attacked, and then that put an end to I couldn't work for a while. But in the lockdown I wrote my new show, Autism, Mama and Puberty, which I'm just in love with the show. I'm so proud of it, and it's gaining a lot of attention, and yeah.
And you're gonna come over to Dublin to perform it, yeah?
I'm June or July. I'm gonna.
Oh, that's
here.
So exciting, Joe.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna perform it?
I'm in talk with some of the lads that I've gigged with.
Oh,
over here.
in the Workman's Club.
Yeah.
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 We'll definitely.
So, it will definitely be done before I go to Edinburgh, the Fringe, with it. So, yeah. So look out for that, everyone.
Autism, Mama and Puberty.
Autism, Mama and Puberty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when our, I guess it's hard not to have expectations for your sons, and when things, and you want them to be a certain way, and it's hard to get your head around, I guess. Do you go through denial, maybe? Do you when things don't, when your children aren't doing as well as you want them to do? I'm trying to word this correctly.
Personally, no, I try. I can't say that I have. Like I said, I knew quite soon on there was something different with my boy, and I wanted to know what it was. My big boy's dyslexic. I've always encouraged him to try and embrace that. If there's any denials, I suppose it would be within myself, and just growing up, and the things that were happening to me, and I wasn't protected. And I've got issues regarding my mum. So,
where's your mom from?
Cork.
Yeah. Do you know the area?
Farranbury.
I don't know it.
Is your mother alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she doesn't live in Cork. She lives in
No, she lives in London. She has dementia now. I don't see her. My brother cares for her.
Did she grow up in England, or she lived in Ireland? And
she left Ireland, I think, in her teenage years or coming on to 20. Yeah.
So she didn't have like a strong Cork accent, or did she?
Yeah, she did. And when we were younger, when she used to visit Cork, she'd come back with her Cork accent, and we used to say to her, "Why are you talking like that?"
Yeah. And we're like your friends. Did they think what's up with her accent? Like,
now, it's weird. Yeah, but it's weird because every English person that we know, she's Irish, whereas I wouldn't hear an Irish accent. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Unless she come back from Ireland, it would she'd reinstate her Irish accent.
There's a flavour of sorry, I cut in again.
No, go on.
There's a flavour of Irish accent in Jamaican accent, isn't
well,
there?
That's the Montserrat, isn't it? Like, loads of Irish people were sent over to the
Well,
Caribbean.
Montserrat is another island, yeah. So a lot of Montserrat black people have Irish names from their descendants from when they went over as slaves. Yeah.
So I have a question. Why do you call your oldest son C-U-M-P?
What?
Why do I call him? Because it's a really good punch word to the joke.
This is a part. No, I'm just teasing. It's a part of comedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I have
and
to
it's
admit,
really funny. Sorry.
Yeah, because like I couldn't gig unless like me and my big son had worked as a team. So like he used to watch over his brother. I say watch him, like I'd make sure I would feed the boy and make sure he was settled, and all his brother had to do was be the responsible adult within the home. But you know, if he hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been able to gig. But if I say that in a joke, that's not funny.
Yeah.
So, but there is times he grates on me, and sometimes I do think he is a bit of a highly powered shit that has not been flushed properly through the pipework. Yeah.
You see, that's why your comedy is funny, because the phrases you're using.
Yeah.
They're just charming.
Well, I picked on that because we started about talking about shit and pipework. So
autism.
Callback.
Autism.
Mama and puberty.
And how has that? What is it about the show that you're so that you're so happy with at the moment?
Because it's honest from beginning to end. It's come from the heart. It wrote itself. It's educational.
When you say it wrote itself, do you mean?
Because it's honest. It's real. It's what happened. It's what we went through.
Yeah.
So it's writ itself.
Was that because you were talking about that incident that happened with your son? Is that in the show?
Which incident?
When he attacked you. When your son attacked you.
He didn't attack her.
He had a meltdown. No, your timing is all wrong.
I'm sorry.
So, the show was written in 2020.
Yeah.
The incident with my son, when I ended up with 8 fractured ribs, that was last August.
Oh, sorry, Josephine. I'm fucking.
I mean, we can talk about it.
No, we don't. No, I don't.
It's just two different things.
No, sorry, Josephine. Let's see. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
It's
fine. I think David is all over a place.
Yeah.
No. I just go on, Josephine.
No, I was just going to say the show is literally, it's in the title. It's how I supported him going through some aspects of his pubescency, because he's not grounded emotionally, developmentally. And it's going to relate. I've done it within his school. I've done it to governors. I've done it to other teachers, people who've seen it already, who are teachers or autistic parents. Sorry, not autistic, that like parents of autistic children, they all relate to it, and they all want to bring other family members to see it. So I think it's going to be very relatable. It's a message as well as a lovely show to watch. It's funny, it's humorous, it's honest, it's endearing.
It's a love story as well?
It's not like my comedy voice. It's not. It isn't. And I think a couple of times I've performed it just as a work in progress, and I've not put the title. And I've noticed when I've done that, and audiences have come to see it, they're expecting to hear my club voice, and they don't really get the club voice. And they're like, it takes them a few minutes to settle into the pace that this is a show about this. Afterwards, they love it. They tell me that, but I can feel that that's like they're not getting that kind of Josephine.
So it's more about the story.
I think it's quite like a love story, to be honest.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
But it's funny, and there might be one little joke that's in my club set, but it's completely independent from my comedy, my club sets or my MCing.
Well, I saw you in London when I was working over at the Top Secret for I saw you so many times, but I have to say every time I saw you, it was just really nice to see, because you see a lot of there's always a lot of men in comedy, and you see, and they're kind of going up and they've had no life experience really, or and they're kind of saying, oh, have you seen this thing on the internet or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then you come up and there's an energy, and people want to see you, you're likable and stuff, and it was always great to watch you.
Thank you, Jack.
And I mean that as well.
I know you do, darling. Thank you.
That's nice.
You've so got your mother's manners.
Thank you.
And is there what's it like playing in Dublin compared to?
Oh, I mean, it's like Jamaica. It's home from home. I don't feel, and your hospitality. I know we're having a banter, but I mean, it wouldn't be worth me coming if I had to fork out for accommodation, and you're in the heart of it, and it's so homely. I don't feel like I'm a lodger or anything like that. So honestly, I love coming here. I'd be here a lot more if it wasn't like the dynamic of sorting out my boy. I do love it here.
Well, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
Jesus Christ, look at us speaking authentically. It's so uncomfortable for me.
Yeah,
Come on, let's bring the tone down then.
It's David's birthday.
Well,
Bring the tone down.
I know. You're going to say how old you are?
58.
And I told you this morning you don't look a day over 57.
So, David, how do you feel? How do you feel? I'm trying to do my Cork accent by accident.
Hey, give us some good Jamaican slang for the crack.
I only really do. My patois can only really come out if I'm pissed off.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
What gets you pissed off?
Stupidity. People with lack of common sense.
I like that. When I came back from the gig at 2 a.m, you happened to be up as well, and you answered the door. And
sure, what kind of time would you call this now, sure? You're not coming in here now, sure. You can't sleep in the van, so you should. You're not coming in here now, sure.
Yeah.
What kind of fucking time do you call this now? I've been up the whole night now worrying about you.
Oh, now it's going into the Jamaican there.
I know, I can't do it either. I don't think I do. The only thing I think I can say in an Irish accent is Holy Mary, Mother of God, and all the saints in heaven.
Holy sweet Mother, divine Jesus, and Mary and Mother, and the little baby Jesus, and the steam coming out of the donkey's nose, keeping the baby warm.
My children speak better Irish accents than I do.
Yeah. But it's a very delicious sounding accent.
Oh, it's lovely.
The Jamaican accent. And I love the what are the slang words? They're quite. What does bumbaclat mean?
But the bumbaclat.
What does that mean? Bumbaclat. It's just like.
Well, I mean.
Is it blood clot?
No, blood clot is like a sanitary towel.
Oh.
Yeah. That's your blood clot.
But you'd use it in
it's like a cuss word. You're basically calling someone a paddy pad.
See, I wish I could use those phrases, you know?
Yeah, no, it would be racist.
Authentically, though.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I only use it in a set. I mean, I would never, I don't speak that like in my everyday language.
But in London, you hear everyone's like, even like white guys, you know, like like they're like they go like, yeah, in it,
yeah, in it, your blood clot.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
I find
my fam, you know. This
what?
is
You're
my
right, fam.
You're right,
Oh,
fam.
that's my wife, yeah? Or
Yeah.
what?
Well, family, like street family.
I find that quite annoying. You know, I talk to some of my English or British or whatever you call them
Why
friends.
is that, G? Why is that, G?
What's that?
Sorry, that's an alarm of mine. I thought it was on silent. If you see it, just knock it off. I'm so sorry. I hope that don't spoil.
Make me a hint.
Jack, stop doing that. You know, because I'll talk to my mate and I'll say something like, "Oh, you know, I was driving for 4 hours," and he'll go, "Is it?" What the fuck is it?
It doesn't make grammatically any sense.
It is a, banana. Is it a banana? Yes, it is. I've done something today. Is it? Well,
It's like in it.
Is it? It really does my head in.
Well, what doesn't help is like the generations that use all the slang talk and the abbreviated text wording, and that. I mean, some of it is made it into the dictionary for F's sake. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not one who can ever have spoken the Queen's English, but it's not helping. I mean, I don't really like it.
The worst ones are the ones that come from America, I think. I think they're like the worst ones. The slang from America.
Yeah.
You know, because that's all quite like... A lot of slang like, Jamaican or English slang, there's kind of some sort of intelligence behind there.
Yeah.
And use, but like,
like what? Crack intelligence?
Like American, like slang. Like
trying to think of something.
They're just replacement words, like Riz. Like you always see that on the internet.
Riz?
What's
it's
Riz
like,
mean?
It means
Risible.
Like, it means like good at flirting or like.
For crying out loud! I wouldn't know that.
I'm Frizz.
But it's just like
Riz?
I don't know.
Frizz?
It's just stupid.
I'm terrible at Riz.
So, in terms of your future as a comedian, like, what do you want? How are you going to get it? Like, do you know what you want?
It's really weird, right? It's really weird because I was asked several years ago by a great actor. He's in the States now, Brett Goldstein. He asked me. He was an online interview, I think it was, and he asked me, where do I see myself in 10 years' time? And I think my answer was something like, I must have been about 45, because if I remember correctly, I think my answer was something like, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be 50 and I don't see myself shooting around doing gigs. I'm going to just want to be at home writing and blah, blah, blah. I've never loved comedy so much. I'm 56 this year. And what I want the show to blow up. I want to do it as a book.
When you say blow up, what does that mean? You mean tour it?
Tour it, let it go far and wide, let as many people as see it as possible. And
big stadium venues.
And it's good that you look at me. I was puncturing that dream. I was going, well, come on now. We're not having her in stadiums. No, but it's a nice feeling. So when you wake up in the morning, there's light. You see your goals, and you're working towards something, and you're excited.
Yeah, and it's something to focus on when I can feel, because as it was raised, after the incident with my son in August, where he hates school holidays, 6 weeks one is very traumatic for him. It's far too long. And he expresses 4 weeks is enough. And we were out, and he was already triggered, but I thought bringing him out would be better than staying at home. And he likes to eat out, so we had tickets to do a football tour of Chelsea. Neither of us are into football, but we got tickets from an organisation, and there was other families there with autistic children, and there was a meltdown from one child, and it was the last trigger for my son, and he didn't have any of his safeguarding stuff around. He didn't have a soft room. He didn't have a sensory room. It was just us about in this world where he had lost all form of grounding, and he used me as a springboard. And I ended up with 8 fractured ribs, and I spent a week in hospital. And because he already gets respite, because I spent that week in hospital, that week brought him over his designated allowance in his care plan. And we entered voluntarily into a Section 20, which means that he automatically became a child of care, even though I've got parental responsibility. And then, of course, when I went home, social services deemed I wasn't well enough to look after him. And I've never been so brokenhearted. And I'm only really kind of coming out of that now. But there was a reason why. What did you ask me before that?
Well, I was saying... What?
So coming out, I'm only just coming out of that kind of dark depression. And what's helped is the light about where this show is going. Because I doubt very much I will get this amount of interest and sponsorship again. This possibly will be my only time I'm going to get this amount of input and interest from others for the show to develop and showcase. Because Soho Theatre have sponsored the show for Edinburgh Fringe, which I'm so grateful for, because I wouldn't have been able to afford it on my own. But the fact that they've seen what I see in the show, and I know they like me and I like them, feel completely in safe hands, and I can't thank them enough for giving me that opportunity.
Well, I wish you so much success with the show.
Thank you.
And it'll go from strength to strength. It's lovely having you in the house.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
I fixed the light in the bathroom because I knew you were coming. I'm really grateful for that. But, I am 55 and I do know where all my bits are. I can find them in the dark. I don't want you pissing in the dark.
Pissing yourself? Not hitting the bowl?
Yeah, the funniest thing is when you're wiping your arse in the dark and you have to use the torch to see if there's any shit on the tissue.
But there's lots of, oh, Jesus Christ. There's loads of things I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at you and listening to you and hearing your life and so on. And it's everyone's life is like a movie and so on. But now you're here and... I don't know, I feel a lot of things. I don't know how to express it, but hopefully this will be a time that will be really good, creatively and for your comedy.
It will. I mean, I've learned you've got to be careful how you talk about yourself and what you say, even in jest, because words, you can put spells on yourself. That's why it's called spelling. Do you know what I mean? What you speak about yourself, you put onto yourself. So you don't even joke about, you have to mind what you say about yourself, because the universe hears that. So I'm only just saying good and positive things now, and all the negative stuff has gone. And I place my troubles in the hand of the Lord, let him deal with that. And I just focus on what I've always said, and my friends know, I just want to secure my son's future. What that incident did teach me, though, as with I've got some close friends that I've made in comedy, what it had taught me is that I'm loved a lot more than I thought I was, by others. And I cope a lot better than I think I do. And yeah.
And you're a very pleasant person to spend time with.
Thank you.
Because people bother me. But sharing, like I've never.
No, Josephine.
No,
you never complain about Josephine.
No, but just like you make the place a nice place to be. So I mean, that's and I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. It's your birthday today.
Oh, it's
David.
my fucking birthday.
So happy birthday.
Yeah.
And I got you a present.
Oh.
So because so I was in the west of Ireland, and because you share it with St. Bridget.
What's St. Bridget's?
St. Bridget.
It's very small, Hannah.
Yeah, because you can take it with you all the time.
Let me see.
I
got something similar, I think, in Jerusalem.
I know, that's beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I know, that's really Irish. And then, I know that you have a lot of moths, so I got you a lavender bag.
Sweetheart, thank you so much.
That's it.
Oh, I wonder if that's what bit me then. Do moths bite?
Oh, actually,
No.
sorry, yeah. So Josephine was sitting here today. And she said, I got 2 marks on my leg. Something bit me. And I'm freaking out thinking, Jesus, up in the room that Josephine's in is full of spiders. But can I put the photo of the 2 bite marks?
Yeah, I got 2 fang marks on my knee.
Yeah, but moths wouldn't bite.
No, I know.
Would it be a spider, Hannah?
Might be a spider.
Actually, sorry, yeah, that's right. Folks,
Molly?
if you...
midges, no?
I'm going to...
Midges?
Huh?
No?
Oh, there it is, sorry.
Midges are in the lake.
So I'm going to put this photo up, and if anybody has any ideas what they think this might be.
Yeah.
Look at Josephine's.
Oh my God. This is really
it's not septic. It wasn't anything. I've had bites before.
Oh, and she said she was wearing pajamas.
Yeah.
So whatever bit her leg, right, had to crawl up the leg of her pajamas. And Josephine was like... I'm pretending you're snoring.
Or it was in my pajamas when I put them
Yeah.
on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I know your cat ain't got fleas, so it weren't.
The cat doesn't have fleas.
It doesn't.
Well, who knows?
She doesn't.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hannah, for the St. Bridget's cross.
There's some more gifts.
Oh,
as
no
well.
way.
Oh.
My son Jack.
Daniel and myself, we went to...
this is too much now.
Bric-a-brac.
Thank you very much. It shouldn't be about me, but anyway, it is. So why not?
It is.
Spotlight oral care.
No, this is just...
That's just a bag.
Oh, look.
Oh,
I love a lovely teapot because I love tea.
Oh,
is
is
it
it usable?
Who's that from?
Oh, that's lovely.
The 2 of us, we went and picked them out. It's from the
Jesus, look. I love it.
That's
a real thing. You know, when kids, they just, what are we going to get for this old guy?
Hey, if you don't want it, I'll take it.
I love it. No, I'm such a jerk.
How do you get that? How are you going to get that in a bottle?
You know what David used to do when I gave him present? He used to look and just flip it over.
Yeah, see, I got him 2 warm neck scarves.
That was the thing that Josephine got me.
Yeah, and I got you a pink one. Literally, you're right. He took it out, looked at it, put it on his head, and then since then it was just been scrumpled on the table like that.
Yeah,
and I asked him today, I said, look, are you going to wear this? Because I thought maybe he could put it on his knee because he had them knee wrap things.
Oh, yes, I can put it on my knee.
No, but you said it was too wide. That's what you said earlier. That's not going to fit on my knee.
I can stitch it, so make it
Hey,
smaller.
look, can I just say...
And also, we got your favourite stuff from Spar.
What'd you get?
Your favourite stuff from Spar.
Oh, yeah.
So you could show the
Which
people.
is, let's guess, what's your favourite Spar?
Yeah, let's see, what's your favourite thing from Spar?
My favourite stuff from Spar is the Lucasade.
And what else?
And a chocolate bar.
What else?
And I don't know.
Toilet paper?
Toilet paper, yeah.
Toilet paper too.
You see, I know because
I
David...
bought toilet paper. Where did you hide your toilet paper? Because I couldn't find none.
There's loads of toilet paper.
Yeah, but where is it?
It's in the toilet.
No, but the other day there was none.
Hobnobs.
Oh, hobnobs, thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
This little jug of milk.
Oh, thanks.
And a box of
You've just done his shopping.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay.
You got to kiss Daniel now as well.
Yeah, I'll kiss Daniel later.
He's too old to be
And he
kissed.
uses these to clean his ears.
Stop it, Jack. Go on. Sit down. Nobody can hear you. Well, look, can I just genuinely say, will we do Conspiracy Corner quickly, or do we have time? Go on.
Maybe not.
1:27. 1 hour 20.
Oh, Jesus.
I think it's
been
enough.
long.
This is
okay.
a special...
Can I look? Thank you so much. I'm genuinely so grateful. First of all, to have Josephine Lacey, and it means a lot to tell us your story, and I feel kind of privileged to be able to listen to you, and it's been lovely spending time with you, because like I come home and the place is all clean, and there's all this lovely feminine energy. I do love it. Thanks.
Yes.
And thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
And also being with Hannah and your boys. It's lovely being hanging out with them.
Thank you. And so if you get a chance, you have to go and see Josephine Lacey doing stand-up. It's amazing. And her, when she comes back to Dublin, Autism, Mama, Puberty.
Autism, Mama and Puberty. Look, if you follow me on the Instagram, Autism, Mama and Puberty is too long to type in. But if you type in Josephine Lacey with an E, I come up. And you will see me. I'm there lounged on a lounger, looking beautiful and seductive. That's me.
Because you are.
and filthy.
And filthy.
I like that filthy side.
Yeah, man, you know. You know it, don't it?
Is it?
Don't get me Rossclatt started though.
Hey, look here, boy. Look here.
What? I don't know what Jack said. I don't understand, but I like the sound of it.
He doesn't know what he said.
I don't know what I was saying either.
But I like the sound of it.
Sounds good.
Since when we cannot joke about other nations, people, and whatever.
Since the woke people took over.
Yeah.
We're all one, man. We're all
We're
human.
all from Africa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you were saying about Mark Rothman and the Africa Centre. And trying to, be all.
What can I?
So Mark started Top Secret in a place called the Africa Centre near Covent Garden.
Yeah.
And he was out flyering with Josephine. I don't know. Do we?
Few of them. Yeah. Look. Don't. How much time?
No. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Josephine Lacey. Thank you, Hannah. Happy birthday. I love you all. See you next Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye.
We have to use this music because of copyright. Okay, this is new. Okay.